Boo's career before it started.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I've been said
fucked
that.
him up.
I would have knocked him the fuck out. And it's a reason why,
Hear the shit.
you know what I mean, they went the other way. Stop playing with
Thank
me.
you. Thank you.
Stop playing with me. Niggas, real boxing motherfuckers know why they went the other way. He wasn't ready yet. He needed a couple of more fights, they said. Stop playing. Y'all be
Come on, bro. That's what I'm talking about. We already said
That's
that.
right.
He
That's
said
right.
I was lying.
But out.
It ain't his time. Brian
That's
said the
right.
same thing. It ain't his time yet.
And I be trying to be nice because I support the young fella and all that. And he black and shit. I want to see him succeed.
That's my thing.
Niggas can't come up to me and do the same shit that they can do with other niggas. Niggas don't do that with me. I would slap the piss out of niggas' face. Niggas know who to play with.
But that was also what I said. His career is already ready.
Niggas don't even really be saying my name. They be like, oh, I'm with everybody. I'm full of everybody. I'm gonna stop everybody. Niggas say my name. Niggas say I knocked Terence Crawford out, nigga.
You ain't regular, Terence. We know that. You ain't regular. You ain't regular.
See?
Well, I know me and Wallow tried you, nigga.
We won. We won,
nigga.
We won. I know martial arts. Let's change the sport. We can change the sport. And we're going to see what you're going to do then. I'm a martial artist. So I don't count if you knock me out. That shit don't count. It don't count. I got 13 belts. It don't matter if you knock me out.
Terence Crawford just tossed a grenade into the boxing world, and somehow the entire sport is pretending not to smell the smoke yet. But here's the real question nobody can ignore. Is Crawford actually daring Boots into a fight he secretly wants? And if Boots wins, will he really call him out live?
About that chatter about them actually if they ever were to fight.
Crawford is a man. He showed it, throughout his career, and then moving up to super middleweight and did what he did with Canelo, showed that he's the best in the world, one of the best of all times. He doesn't need to prove anything else, man.
Terence Crawford against Ennis, for me, is the best fight in American boxing. But it needs to be a payday for Crawford that would get him interested, because Crawford knows how good Boots is. And I'm not saying that Crawford thinks he's going to lose to Boots, but he knows that is a real fight. But for me, Boots is the new Crawford. We've just got to go out and get the fights to show how great he is.
Everybody in boxing claims they want the biggest fights until the contract actually shows up. That is usually the moment when promoters suddenly develop amnesia. Managers start speaking in riddles like they are guarding ancient treasure maps, and fans begin arguing on the internet with the emotional stability of a broken vending machine.
Boots Ennis, and this is a fight that we all wanted to see like a few years back, even before the Canelo fight, was even a thing, even before the Canelo fight was even a possibility or thought. So obviously everybody wanted to see Crawford potentially give Boots an opportunity, but he's really heated and animated about what he would have done to a Boots Ennis in a fight. I think at 147, yeah, Crawford would have cooked that boy. No offense to Boots, I like Boots, he's one of my favorite fighters, but Bud's experience and his offensive pedigree is just different. He's on a different level at this point in his career. You guys got to remember, Boots hasn't even.
But somehow, every road in boxing right now keeps leading back to one man standing in the middle of the chaos, smiling like a supervillain who already read the ending of the movie. That man is Terence Crawford.
And listen, man, we done already said we retired. We done already said we ain't got nothing left to prove in this sport. We done said that the money don't move us to go out there and box again. So why is y'all mentioning this Boots kid to us every time we pop out? We don't want to hear about no Boots. The only Boots we want to hear about is some Timberlands, some nice butters. Y'all really trying to get us to pop back outside. And I'm going to be real with you. I was never too...
Now, after all the debates, all the accusations, all the Eductum conversations, all the Philly loyalty speeches, and enough podcast yelling to power an entire city block, Crawford has basically thrown the challenge directly into Ennis's lap and said, if you beat them, then stop whispering and call my name.
The question continues to rise now. Should the pound-for-pound king come out of retirement? Undefeated 5-division champion, 3-division undisputed champion, first ballot Hall of Famer, the greatest fighter of his generation, his era, Terence Bud Crawford, 42 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 wins by way of knockout. should Terence Crawford, at 38 years of age, he'll be 39 in September, should Terence Bud Crawford come out of retirement and compete against the Phenom, as I refer to him as, former lineal unified WBA, IBF, Ring Magazine, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, who is undefeated, 35 wins, no loss, no draw.
And suddenly, the boxing world got very uncomfortable. The funny thing about Terence Crawford is that the man has spent his entire career acting like danger is a hobby. Most fighters negotiate risk the way people negotiate rent prices. Crawford negotiates risk like somebody double-dog dared him in middle school, and he never emotionally recovered from it. The man moved through weight classes, collecting belts the way streaming services collect subscription fees. Lightweight, super lightweight, welterweight, junior middleweight. It almost stopped feeling normal after a while, because every division kept ending the same way. Somebody talks confidently before the fight. Crawford downloads their soul by round 6, and suddenly the commentators start sounding concerned for public safety that S.O. when this whole Boots Ennis conversation exploded again. Crawford did not react like somebody avoiding smoke. He reacted like somebody annoyed that people keep pretending he is hiding from a fire, while he is literally standing inside the flames roasting marshmallows. And honestly, the timing makes this entire thing even crazier, because this did not come from some staged press conference with dramatic music and fake tension. This came from one of those chaotic boxing conversations where everybody starts talking over each other, like relatives arguing during Thanksgiving dinner.
It's like each other as far as height, you know, they both switch hitters, lift, and everything. All of that cancels out each other, so they are literally the same people pretty much. The only difference is Crawford done been in the big stage against big fighters oh so many times. And also, with age, he didn't beat up his body, so his age is actually good. He got the grown man strength. He not just grown man strength, but he built on top of that. Like, look at him at 135. He was a little scrawny dude. He wasn't a big dude. Now look at him. He ripped up everything. He's strong. So I feel like he got everything, all the experience, all the knowledge. So I got to go with Crawford.
Somewhere in the middle of all of it, Crawford basically decided he was tired of hearing people talk around his name. Then came the line that lit gasoline on the entire situation, because Crawford was basically telling Boots, if you really want the smoke, stop sending coded messages through podcasts and interviews. Put my name on the billboard. And that is where this gets interesting. Whether people love Crawford or hate him, there's one thing almost everybody inside boxing agrees on. The man is insanely competitive. Not fake competitive like somebody tweeting motivational quotes after losing. He's real competitive. The kind where criticism genuinely irritates him enough to potentially take a dangerous fight just to silence people. That is why this whole conversation matters, that a lot of fans think Crawford is only chasing legacy fights now. They look at the possible mega fight with Saul Alvarez and assume Crawford has zero interest in risking everything against a younger, hungrier fighter like Boots Ennis. That on paper, that logic makes sense. Crawford is already one of the greatest fighters of his era. He already became undisputed at 140 pounds. He already became undisputed at welterweight. He already destroyed Errol Spence Jr. in the biggest performance of his career. The man's resume already looks like someone playing boxing on rookie difficulty.
Tired. And my thing is, if you felt this strongly about the Omaha Nightmare, aka Jerron Boots Ennis, why didn't you send the offer to Boots Ennis after you whooped Canelo ass? I'm just asking. You the A side now. But get this. You could have sent Boots an offer to go to 160, 168. You are the A side now. And respectfully, you are bored. Yeah, you sleeping at fights, gang. And let's be real. You owe the fans a reign as the face of boxing.
So why would he risk all of that against a dangerous younger fighter from Philly? Because Terence Crawford might genuinely be addicted to proving people wrong. That is what makes him different. Most elite fighters eventually become businessmen first and fighters second. Crawford somehow stayed emotionally wired, like the kid nobody believed in from Omaha, who still feels disrespected every time somebody doubts him. And when people start saying Boots is the future and Bud is avoiding him, you can almost see Crawford taking it personally. That random phone call that surfaced recently only added fuel to the fire because it reminded everybody that this fight was not some fantasy made up by fans on social media. Conversations actually happened. People keep acting like Crawford versus Ennis was never remotely possible, but the reality is much messier. Crawford actually fought under BLK Prime before and reportedly earned massive money for it. So when people say there was interest in paying him even more to fight Boots, that is not some imaginary scenario cooked up by conspiracy theorists wearing aluminum foil hats. Now, to be fair, context matters. At that time, Boots Ennis was still rising. Talented, dangerous, explosive, absolutely terrifying for the division, but still developing. Throwing a young fighter into the ring with Crawford at that stage was basically like giving a rookie driver a Formula One car during a thunderstorm and saying, "Good luck, champ." Even Boots fans understood the risk.
The public had to match you up with a Terence Crawford, right? Who was at the top of the game right now because they couldn't see anybody else that could compete with him. So did you take that as a compliment?
When I was coming, I really wasn't too worried about who was this, who was that. Like,
you was focused on what you was trying to do.
I know my task in hand was coming up. At that time, I was fighting at 47, so my task in hand was being undisputed. You know, and these guys was playing around a little bit, so, you know, I didn't get to become undisputed, but I was able to become unified, you know, lineal champion at 47, so that was...
Crawford at welterweight was operating like a final boss character. The man stopped Spence, who many people considered unbeatable. Before that, he dismantled fighters with different styles, different strengths, and different game plans. Southpaw, orthodox, pressure fighter, boxer, counterpuncher. It never seemed to matter. Crawford adapts faster than people can breathe. So, when Boots' team reportedly chose another direction, a lot of people interpreted it as smart career management rather than fear. But here is where Crawford fans get irritated. If the fight was truly offered and your side did not take it, how can you later accuse Crawford of ducking? In every generation, boxing looks for the next pound-for-pound king waiting to take over. Right now, Boots sits in that position for a lot of fans. He is explosive, athletic, confident, and dangerous enough to make trainers sweat through their shirts. But Crawford fans look at the situation differently. They see a man who already climbed the mountain being criticized by people who have not even started the hike yet. That is why emotions around this topic get so intense.
To that point that in his career where people are saying like, all right, he's got to fight somebody now. But at the end of the day, like, Boots is a talented fighter, but you guys got to understand Crawford has already done it all. You know, you don't want to put Boots, you know, who has so much potential and a bright future in the ring with a guy like Terence Crawford. It just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense because Crawford was honestly like, let this kid be great. Don't put him in there with me because you're not going to get out of there alive. You know, I'm going to handle that business and retire the kid before he even gets his chance. So that's why Crawford is saying.
And then there's the Philly factor. Philadelphia treats boxing like religion mixed with organized chaos. Philly fighters represent the city with a level of pride that feels almost territorial. Boots, Gilly, Wallow. All those Philly connections naturally create loyalty. They're going to defend their guy. That is normal. But Crawford supporters keep repeating the same thing. This is a fighter who has gone more than 15 years as a professional without turning down opponents, according to his own statements. And honestly, his career kind of backs that up. Crawford has consistently moved toward danger instead of away from it. Meanwhile, boxing fans online act like every fight negotiation is an episode of a detective show. Still, the Crawford versus Ennis storyline refuses to die because stylistically it feels like one of those fights people would obsess over for decades. You have the established master against the younger destroyer. Experience versus explosiveness. Patience versus hunger. Precision versus pressure. And now Crawford is basically daring Boots to make it official publicly. That changes the energy. Because if Boots beats Xander Zayas and actually calls out Crawford directly, the pressure becomes massive. Suddenly, this is no longer fans' fantasy booking in YouTube comment sections. Suddenly, the demand becomes real.
He showed it, you know, throughout his career, and then, you know, moving up to super middleweight and did what he did with Canelo, showed that he's, you know, the best in the world, one of the best of all times. He doesn't need to prove anything else, man. He could take care of business. He could beat most of the guys out there right now in boxing, But I don't really. I think he's defending himself. He knows how to defend himself. He knows how to talk. But I don't see him getting back in the ring. I don't see him even doing it just to shut somebody up. I think
Here's the part that makes this whole situation fascinating. There is a strong argument that Crawford would actually take the fight if the offer were serious enough. Not because it is the safest move, not because it is the smartest business move, but Crawford seems genuinely motivated by proving superiority. People forget this about elite competitors. Criticism becomes fuel. Doubt becomes motivation. The more people say he is avoiding Boots, the more likely Crawford might feel the urge to destroy that narrative personally. Calling Terence Crawford scared is like calling a shark nervous around water. It just sounds ridiculous to people who watched his career. Boots does not fight like somebody intimidated by reputations either. He fights like somebody who believes he belongs at the top already. Boxing history is filled with legends who looked unstoppable until the next generation finally caught them at the perfect moment. Father Time remains undefeated no matter how many belts somebody owns. People have had moments. People have won rounds. But eventually, Crawford starts reading opponents like he downloaded the script mid-fight. Once he adjusts, things usually go downhill fast for the other guy.
Whole lot of sense in a fight that stylistically would be, oh my goodness, is a fight between Terence Crawford and Jaron Boots Ennis.
I don't think I think that's going backwards for Terence.
To that point, Jaron doesn't have the kind of accolades. He doesn't sell to the mass and all these. So this fight was perfect timing for both these guys.
That is what happened against Spence. People spent years debating that fight. Years. Entire YouTube careers were built around who wins, Spence or Crawford. Then the fight happened, and Crawford looked like he had access to cheat codes. That performance changed how people talk about him historically, because after becoming undisputed in dominant fashion, the conversation shifted from, is Bud elite? To where does Bud rank all time? And that is where the debates become hilarious. Some people criticize Crawford so aggressively that you would think the man spent his career fighting random Uber drivers behind gas stations. Meanwhile, the same critics will praise fighters with half the accomplishments. At a certain point, it starts sounding personal. Crawford is already a multi-division champion, especially when the comparisons start. People mention names like Floyd Mayweather Jr., Sugar Ray Leonard, Roy Jones Jr., and even Muhammad Ali in conversations about Crawford's greatness. Whether somebody agrees with those rankings or not, the fact that his name even enters those discussions says everything. Think about how insane that is. A kid from Omaha fought his way into conversations with boxing immortals, and somehow, people still talk about him like he owes the internet 12 more miracles before breakfast.
Errol Spence is my man's. He dominated Errol Spence. I thought he was crazy for getting in that ring and going against Canelo 3 weight classes up. He beat the shit out of Canelo. What y'all think we gonna do to Boots, man? Listen, I like Boots. I think the boy got talent. I think he a top 5, top 10 talent in boxing right now. But they all look like that before they stand in front of Terence Crawford. Y'all gonna make us hop in this ring and put a halt to this boy's career. Trying to let him have a promising career. But we gonna turn that boy into a...
Meanwhile, Boots is trying to build his own legacy while dealing with impossible expectations, because that is the downside of being labeled the next one. Fans stop treating you like a developing fighter and start treating you like a superhero movie trailer. And now, because Crawford publicly dared him to say the name, every future interview Boots gives is going to feel awkward until he addresses it directly. That is the genius of Crawford's challenge. He flipped the switch. Instead of defending himself against accusations, he turned the spotlight toward Boots. You want to fight? Then say it clearly and honestly. Boxing needs more of this energy. Not fake WWE screaming contests where two fighters pretend to hate each other because a promoter told them to look angry on Instagram. Real competitive tension, real pride, real ego, real risk. IT is about whether the young lion is truly ready to take over or whether the old lion still owns the jungle. But in boxing, simple words can start wars. Now the entire sport is waiting to see what happens next. Will Boots beat Zayas and finally call Crawford out directly? Will Crawford actually answer the challenge if the money and timing line up? Will promoters stop acting like confused accountants long enough to make the fight happen? But one thing is absolutely certain. Terence Crawford did not sound like a man hiding from anybody. He sounded like somebody daring the next generation to step forward already. And if that fight ever becomes official, the boxing world might genuinely lose its mind.